It's time for
DodgerHeads.
high fly ball into right field. Dodgers have won it all in 2020. Shohei Ohtani, 50-50 club. Strikes him out. There's a drive. Shohei Ohtani. Freeman hits the ball. She is gone. Birthday party, Los Angeles. Your Dodgers have won the World Series.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another DodgerBlue.com postgame show. My name is Matthew Moreno. I'm joined by Anthony Witrado. Anthony, usually I go into kind of the whole spiel of thanking everybody for joining us, YouTube, subscribe, super chats, this, that, and the other. Not tonight. What was that?
That was, in recent memory, one of the worst games I've watched the Dodgers play.
Yeah.
In recent memory, just from a quality standpoint, that was pretty embarrassing.
Yeah. You and I, we were discussing some of that before we started. And I know, I'm seeing a lot of our regulars in here with us again. We are a show collectively, a staff that preaches patience
We do.
and big picture. But you and I are also on the same page of, hey, you got to stop beating yourselves. And the Dodgers have done that way too much recently.
It was, I probably turned the game off 3 separate times because it was just, it was too maddening. And was, like I would have it on the iPad, like in my peripheral, because I could not watch. And also I know we had the show tonight, but it was the Twins scored 10 runs tonight, and essentially all of them came from some combination of hideous defense, hideous command mostly from the bullpen. Yoshi wasn't sharp, but he did his job considering. Mostly from the bullpen, the inability to strand inherited runners, which also understanding that the guys who did come in and inherited runners were put in like really bad situations. And then just a complete and utter lack of general fundamentals of the sport. It was tough to watch.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, the bullpen, in some sense, it was an extension of what we sort of seen. But then you have Ben Casparius, who comes in and just doesn't have anything at all, and he ended up leaving with an injury, and we'll get to that. Tanner Scott, for better or worse, obviously. Like, I know his results hadn't been great, but he's now on the injured list. We're going to get to that. Will Klein, like you can't come in and get a strikeout and then walk 3 batters in a row. And Gardo Enriquez, you can't field that ball and just chuck it into right field. I mean,
God, that was bad.
Yeah, I the only funny, I guess, aspect that I took from that was thinking, what if Teoscar Hernandez was in right field tonight and he was having to go chase down after that? Like that would have been a long run for our guy that I know a lot of people have been on about his defense. In all seriousness, we do appreciate everybody who's joining us tonight on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. I will just, as a reminder, if you are on YouTube, please subscribe, like the button, hit the like button on this video, all that good stuff still. And if you're listening on the podcast, subscribe, rate, review there as well. We're on Apple, Google, Spotify, and there's a couple other too. I'm forgetting the names at this point, so I do apologize. We do have some super chats that have already come in. So as a reminder, Anthony and I, we are going to hit on some kind of big topics tonight as we go through this show. But if you want us to answer a certain question or discuss a specific topic, and you are with us on YouTube, then super chat is definitely the way to go. All right, let's see. Our first one's from 300GJW. He said, bad presentation. In all seriousness, I think they may need to not do anything at the deadline and just hope for health. That bullpen is a hot mess. Starting pitcher ain't much better. Fully agree. We opened fully agreeing with that first part. I would caution that if you are only hoping for help at this rate, you're playing with fire, because the bullpen, even with bringing in, or excuse me, even with getting healthy, if you will, Blake Trinan's, on the verge of returning. Michael Kopech should be back. I don't think that that's going to be enough at this current rate right now.
At the moment, it's not, because I know we'll get into this later, but I'm of the mind that we've seen the last of Tanner Scott. We'll see what's going on with Kopech. Gratterall, I think we're not going to see him at all, considering Dave's response to a question about him. And it was like, what's up with him? And he was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And so I'm not of the mind that they do nothing, because I still do think that they'll get healthy enough, and the offense is already starting to sort of show some life. But you cannot just shoot gaping holes into the bullpen over and over and over and over again and expect it to hold up. It's terrible right now. Injuries have a lot to do with that, obviously. And the starting pitching, I think early on in the season, did them no favors either. And so you're down to these kinds of guys who you really can't trust in any kind of leverage situation. But with all that, I do think it's not, don't give up on the season. You're still in first place. They are still going to win the division for my money. And not a good baseball team right now, but they were also not a good baseball team in 2017 for a pretty long stretch, and probably deserve to win that World Series. So I still think you go out and you make the moves that are necessary, but oh my goodness, right now this team is bad.
I'm trying to remember. I don't want to be prisoner of the moment, because 2000, we've referenced it. 2017, they had that horrible stretch in September. But is this the worst quality of baseball that they have played kind of in recent memory? Because like we mentioned, it's not just that they're losing games; it's how you're doing it. Yeah,
I think you hit the nail on the head with the word quality. That's what it is. It's how they're losing. It's hard baseball to watch right now. Especially if you're like us and like the folks in the chat who are watching, virtually every pitch of the season. Because it is fundamentally bad baseball. And outside of Shohei Ohtani and Will Smith, it just feels like a mess.
Yeah.
It's kind of the only word to really describe it in terms of just all of this stuff going on. That's what it feels like. That something needs to change quickly.
Yeah.
Because like I said, for my money, I think they still win the division, which matters. It does matter. And I think they end up with, one of the two best records probably in the league. This stretch is hurting them, but that matters when you get to the playoffs. You don't want to play in the wild card games, all of that kind of stuff. But it needs to change quickly, because you don't want to have to run up against what might be on the horizon in September if this goes the way it goes. And it's interesting because we've gone through seasons where, okay, they won the division by so many games that September didn't really matter. And then they flamed out quickly in the playoffs. Well, they didn't have the necessary intensity late in the season to roll them into October. So if you want them to win by the division by closer, this is exactly how it happens, everybody. You play really, really crappy baseball for a while, and let the pack come back and chase you down. And that's what's happening right now.
Yeah, I mean, I always look I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer to how to go about winning the division. I am inclined to believe there is, almost like a middle ground, I think, where you're not having to play literally to the last day or second to the last day of the season to clinch the NL West. Maybe it's not quite, 2017 when they ran away with it. I will say, though, it depends how you want to look at that, right? Because you can use sort of data from both, because that 2017 year, we just mentioned it, they were awful. That long losing streak late in September, everybody's freaking out. And then the Dodgers basically steamrolled their way to the World Series and would have won it if not for the Astros cheating.
Right.
Now, last year it was a division race up until the Padres came to Dodger Stadium. I believe it was the final week. It was like a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of the regular season.
Yeah,
Because then they went to
because
then they went to Colorado right after. So it took until late, basically, in the season to win the NL West. Now, some of the players, Dave Roberts did say that ultimately suited them well for October. Like they were kind of battle tested, if you will, especially with, I think, the way things ended up going with all the injuries and the pitching staff. So, like, there is value to both sides. I still, though, am of the mind that you don't necessarily want to have to play it out like that late. Like I like there's like maybe do it 2 weeks before the season ends, clinch the division, and then spend the final 2 weeks of the regular season kind of lining things up or whatever the case may be. And even that's harder now because rosters aren't expanded to 40 players anymore. But yeah, I mean, like you said, fans who want the Dodgers to not be able to coast in September. I mean, this is, as you mentioned it, this is how it happens. You go through prolonged stretches of losing, maybe not this poor of quality of play, but at least the end result, this is what it needs to be. All right, let's keep getting through these super chats. But before I do that, I saw a comment. Tommy is saying, how can you not blame Roberts for mismanagement when he put both Conforto and Outman in the same lineup? Fire Roberts or trade him. He doesn't deserve the credit and the contract he got. So a couple of things. One, this always strikes me as interesting, and we've discussed this when fans are upset saying a player, or in this case a manager, is terrible. Trade him. Well, if you think so lowly of him, how are you going to trade him for anything? First of all, Second, I mean, we discuss it on every show. Like the Dodgers, they have a bunch of injuries right now, and Dave Roberts, like these are the options that the front office, because it's not a Dave Roberts only decision. And I know that's not popular for people to hear, but it is the truth. And we're here to tell you guys that we're not going to sit here and just spew things out for the sake of giving you hot takes and being wrong for lack of a better term.
Yeah, we're not going to lie.
Right. So these are the options, right? I mean, there's not sure, if you want maybe Ryan Ward in AAA to come up, fine. But I think the fact that he's not getting an opportunity with all these injuries speaks volumes to what the Dodgers sort of think about who they can rely on at this point.
Yeah. And look, I think part of the reason Outman was out there was because the defense has been so bad, and so they wanted to get a guy who's a defense first glove out there. And for as much as I know a lot of people are frustrated with Conforto, he's been one of their better offensive producers of late. And that's not saying much. It's a pretty low bar. But also complaining about those two guys being in the lineup. The last couple of games, the offense hasn't been the issue. They scored 7 runs tonight. And in the win last night, I forgot what the score was, but offense wasn't necessarily the problem.
5 runs last night.
Yeah, so it's not that. It has been a problem, before the break and all of that. And obviously during the sweep against the Brewers, that was ugly. But right now, I think that the biggest soft spot in this roster is the bullpen. Yeah. I think we're seeing that. It's depleted. There's too many guys hurt, and the guys who have come in to replace them are not. There's a decent amount of guys who they are having to put in the games who are not major league relief pitchers.
Yeah.
And if you are tagged with as many injuries as the Dodgers have been in their pen, any pen in Major League Baseball, this is what it's going to look like, because there's just not enough relievers in your system to sustain that. And it's just, it's not a scouting thing. It's not a they should have done more thing. It's just everybody's hurt. Now, if you want to complain about why do the Dodgers pitchers always get hurt, totally different conversation that's worthy of having. But right now, the bullpen is decimating this team right now. It's been taxed. It's gotten guys probably hurt from usage. And now you're seeing guys who I think the Dodgers, when the season started, probably figured would never make their club, and they're up here now.
Yeah, and you mentioned injuries. Obviously, everybody knows about Tanner Scott's injury last night. He did go on the 15-day injured list today before the game. The official designation that the Dodgers gave it is left elbow inflammation. Before the game, Dave Roberts said that they were still awaiting Dr. Neil Elatrosh to review the MRI results. So we should be getting those hopefully while we're doing this show tonight. That's why if you see me looking down, it's I'm checking notifications to see Blake is at the game. So we'll have that some quotes, and then we'll also have interviews up as we're doing this. The other injury that happened tonight, now the new one, Ben Casparius, as I alluded to earlier, in the show, he struggled kind of right away. Walked a run in with the bases loaded, and then 4 pitches to Correa, and then immediately signaled for the dugout. And I don't want, I'm not going to accuse Casparius of faking an injury, but then basically 2 hours went by, then the Dodgers announced it as a calf cramp. And it's like, well, the optics of this are not great.
Yeah, I think it was more the way he threw the pitch, and then the way he sort of waited for them to come out. It was almost like he got a signal like, get hurt.
Maybe. And as we're saying this, I do want to add, Casparius is going to go for an MRI tomorrow. So there is the potential of, maybe that this turns into a minor strain type thing. And again, I'm not full blown accusing him of faking an injury. I'm not going to do something like that.
Yeah.
It just looked a little funny the way things were going in his appearance. And it was like, okay, let's get him out of there. Maybe the reliever's not ready yet, but we need to make a move.
Right. Yeah, we're not accusing him of that, but it did fit a narrative or conspiracy theory if you wanted to dive into that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and he's a guy too, like that they've leaned on a whole bunch, and he's sort of back in the role that he had success in earlier in the season. And he just did not have it tonight. I think it was Oral on the broadcast who was talking about his upper body and lower body not in sync, and that's why the fastball kept getting left high. I mean, he had no idea where that thing was going.
Yeah, and I'm seeing Cole is saying if Casparius was iffy, then the Minnesota pitcher being pulled for Duran also looked at. I agree, because that one happened during a replay review of Freeman. It looked like he got picked off. The Dodgers challenged it, and they come out of the challenge, and all of a sudden the Twins, I forgot his name, he's leaving the game with an apparent injury, and here comes Duran for maybe his audition for the Dodgers bullpen. Yeah. Big 6-out save tonight.
Yeah.
So put some potentially, at least I want to say encouraging or optimistic. It's a cramp, but he is getting an MRI tomorrow. So there is obviously the potential, I think, for a stint on the injured list. Maybe even if it is a minor calf strain like that, it's not something you can play through. And we were just discussing, considering the state of the Dodgers bullpen, that'll just sort of exacerbate matters a little bit more. And I wonder if, and maybe we'll hear from Dave Roberts tonight. He was asked with the Tanner Scott injury if the Dodgers would consider bringing Blake Treinen back before he did his back-to-back appearances. And I was a little surprised that Dave said no. I wonder, though, if Casparius now is hurt and if he's going to go on the IL, like your hand is almost forced at this.
They have to. I mean, I understand that's just sort of protocol, and that's part of the medical steps that they take with pitchers. But if Casparius is hurt, and let's hope it's just a cramp, because they really cannot afford another injury there. But if he does have to go down and they don't bring Treinen up, I mean, if you're worried the guy might get hurt pitching back-to-backs, he's going to get hurt anyway. Like, I mean, at that point, it's just bring him up. And maybe you try to lay off him if you can for back-to-backs for a little while. Seems impossible at this point, but you got to have somebody up soon who is a major league caliber arm, because there's too many in the pen right now that are not. And in a game like this where they might have to rely on them to cover 4 innings, you're going to see some of those guys eventually.
Yeah. And MH is saying, I smell a Joe Kelly signing. I mean, it is possible. Joe Kelly has been very open about the fact that he's only pitching for the Dodgers. I mean, I think we're getting to the point where they're running out of options, and sure, they'll figure out a way to get him onto their 40-man roster. I know maybe about a month ago now, 3 weeks ago, Kelly did say that he was starting to throw bullpen sessions and he was feeling good. So who knows? All right. We have a bunch of super chats to get to, so I apologize for wait. Also, real quick, actually, before we do them, you mentioned Shohei Ohtani as being one of the bright spots for the Dodgers right now. He did achieve a career first. It's kind of the that meme that was going around when he played for the Angels, the Tugnuson O'Doyle or whatever, the first name was. Ohtani's now hit a home run in four games in a row. So first time in his career. So congratulations to Ohtani. Unfortunately, three of those games have been losses, and he pitched in one of them as well. Well, that's the one that they won. So at least I think, right? Am I remembering this correctly? My days are off. I believe so. Yeah, because he pitched on Saturday or Sunday.
Ohtani pitched on. Oh boy.
Anyway, maybe he did. Maybe they didn't win the game. Somebody will remind us in the chat. Every day is Wednesday. You've heard us say that.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to these super chats. Mookie Betts is apparently in here tonight, and it says, "Time to bench me or move me down for a spell." Well, they did try to bench Mookie one night, and he came. But Anthony, you and I discussed it. Then he came back the next day, and he was back, not only back but leading off.
Yeah, and I was surprised by both of those things. I was surprised that he didn't get a second day off, and I was surprised that he was hitting leadoff. I thought they should have given him both games off. Yeah, like the approach does seem to be shifting a little bit. The results aren't quite there, but there's a little bit less chase. Kind of, he's seeing more pitches, but the pop-ups are still just absolutely killing him. To the point where, like, he popped up one to just behind second base, shallow right, and I started looking up for like league leaders and like pop out rates. I found it for pitchers, but I couldn't find it for hitters. And admittedly, I was doing it on my phone because I didn't want to get the computer out, and I was just like, you know what, I don't care. Like, it's bad. The results still aren't there, but yeah, I mean, like, I would like to see him. I would like to see him sit for a little while, like 2-3 games. The problem is, like, when you're playing like this, it's really hard to do that with the guy, even if he's struggling, who has a track record. And it's just how baseball managers sort of think. So I don't expect it to happen, but I'm with benching him. I would be fine with that idea for a little while. Just get him off his feet. Maybe it helps him. I mean, they also just came off the break, so who knows if it would even work. But like, it's frustrating watching him, and that he's such a better player. At least we've seen. It's just he looks overmatched right now.
Yeah. Real quick, so it looks like we are getting some Tanner Scott info. He said the MRI just showed inflammation, no structural or ligament damage. The plan is to not throw for a couple days and go from there. So somehow the Dodgers seem to have avoided a catastrophic scenario. And I know Scott has struggled, but the reality is you don't want your $72 million closer being lost to Tommy John surgery at this point in the year.
The best possible outcome right now, if you trust it.
That's what I was going to get to next. That is, I think, the biggest question. I'm skeptical. Like, what is causing the inflammation has been caused by something, right? Like, that's always kind of the catch that I can't necessarily get past. So there is something going on in there. I mean, Michael Kopech, a few weeks ago said he was going on the injured list. It was pretty much precautionary. His knee feels fine. There was some inflammation. He got a cortisone shot. He should be good. And next thing we hear, Kopech's having surgery for a torn meniscus. He said he had same thing as Tanner Scott just told the media, Blake and everybody else out there at the stadium tonight, that there wasn't any structural damage or anything shown in the MRI, and he was going to be good, and this and that. And so, hearing this, I know we're sort of reacting in real time. I know it seemed like you were kind of leaning one way anyway coming into it. Like,
yeah,
are you moved at all by what Tanner Scott is saying, or are you still skeptical?
No, not really. I mean, they may not have. When Evan Phillips got hurt, they told us. I mean, they may not have said it in the exact words they're saying it with Scott, but they were like, "Oh, it looks clean." Basically, like, we're gonna rest him.
Yeah,
he's had Tommy John since then. Like, so anytime you hear forearm, elbow, and a guy's been struggling with like stuff and velocity, that's fishy. I told you before we got on, and I'm still of this mind frame until he starts throwing off of a mound in like to actual hitters. I think we have seen the last of Tanner Scott this season.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't fully surprise me, even with this optimistic update that he shared with the media tonight. And also, if you want to, sort of like galaxy brain this, if you will, the trade deadline is 9 days away. Is it? It wouldn't behoove the Dodgers to go out there and say Tanner Scott is done for the year when it's already obvious that they're looking for a reliever or two.
Yeah.
And now other teams are going to know, well, wait a minute, now your closer's gone for the rest of the season.
Price of the brick went up.
Yeah, our price just went up. This is what we want now. And I'm not saying that is what is happening in this scenario, but I don't think that it would necessarily be far-fetched if this is what ends up being the case. And maybe there is some optimism that Tanner Scott is going to pitch again and will be okay. And he'll potentially give it a shot, like you said, get to the point of playing catch, throwing a bullpen session. Tyler Glasnow last year was going to come back until he tried to start throwing bullpens, and it just wasn't happening. So we'll see. But that's at least where things stand for now. Dodgers are obviously struggling. So if you want to find little bits of optimism, we now have Ben Casparius, only a cramp tonight, but going for an MRI tomorrow. Tanner Scott, no ligament damage, just inflammation in the left elbow. So he's shut down, but should be back this year. And then Shohei Ohtani achieving a career first with 4 home runs in a row, but 4 games in a row with a home run.
Let me say this, even though I think that about Tanner Scott, I mean, I obviously really hope that that's not the case and like he's back in a minimal amount of time. But like you said, that inflammation came from somewhere. You know what I mean? And how long he's been pitching through pain, maybe we'll find out, maybe we won't, but I doubt that last night was the first time it cropped up on him.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair point. And then, if you want to continue diet, which, I don't want us to get completely sidetracked, so we won't. But Dave said last night that it was a sting and it was on one pitch. I don't know if I don't know, to your point, like if inflammation, no structural damage, like it sort of doesn't match up. But again, we can only take it for what we've been told at this point. So that's where that stuff is for now. All right. Oh, going back to the Mookie Betts super chat, I wanted to end it with our guy Jeff. He likes to do the bold predictions, and so he's not here, but I'm going to do one for him. Mookie Betts he's not going to be benched because they're going to Boston, and being back out at Fenway Park around some familiar faces is going to turn Mookie Betts around. So I am saying that as Jeff. So if it doesn't happen, everybody comes in here and lets Jeff know, hey, your bold prediction about Mookie Betts was wrong this weekend.
Yeah, it's Jeff's prediction.
Yes.
That would be interesting if he goes there and, hits 450 for the series or something like that. And, 2 homers or something that, like, hey, crazier things have happened, right?
Yeah. Maybe a little bit of not quite home cooking, but because he's from Nashville, but he or from Tennessee. I don't know if it's Nashville specifically, but Tennessee. But he did obviously spend a majority of his career with the Red Sox. So being back in some familiar ground might do him some good. But again, remember that's Jeff's bold prediction for this weekend. Our next super chat's from Jedi Engineer. Time for more pitcher fielding practice. Glad that Diaz looked closer to the all-star version of himself. To be honest, I agree. I mean, the PFP, they were doing it today before the game. And look, Enriquez, his season debut, maybe a little bit of nerves type thing. I don't know. To be quite honest, I don't remember a whole lot with Alexis Diaz tonight. I don't know if you have anything to add on how he pitched. The whole game was kind of a blur.
Unimpressive. Aside that play aside, the velocity is it's hard to live there if you don't have just absolutely wipeout kind of stuff. And I don't think he has that anymore. I saw something that like his extension is in like the 100th percentile. So like he's getting the ball out there. So 93 might get on guys a little quicker, but it's not like it's coming in at 100, with that extension. So yeah, it's the first outing, but I didn't see anything that made me think like, okay, this could be the next guy.
And I still think whether it's Diaz, Enriquez, Will Klein, great. These guys can throw hard, like great. But if you're not locating it, if you're not commanding it, what good is it? If you're walking, every two batters are giving up a hit.
Yeah. I mean, he also didn't come into I see Tim G in the chat. Hey, Tim, noting too, like, it wasn't just Diaz. They had to bring in a bunch of guys today who are not necessarily super leverage arms into really, really bad situations. Like, as he notes, he came in with the bases loaded and nobody out.
Yeah, it's a fair point. All right. Rifle through more of these super chats. LLM 213. I really hope y'all aren't in here defending this. We weren't. I mean, we let off the show with saying you can't play this way. I mean, there's not really much else.
Yeah, this is some of the worst baseball we've seen the Dodgers play as an organization in a long time, years.
Yeah. Bacon Tree, glad to see defense isn't an issue with this front office. Mookie, I don't know if that's sarcasm. I'm assuming it is. Mookie lazy flyouts on middle pitches. Freddie, Shohei, Kim, Pajes alive. 150 more at bats for Conforto. I'm assuming there's a ton of sarcasm.
That's funny. But look, hey, Freddie, Shohei, Kim, and Pajes are showing signs of life. That wasn't happening recently. So that is some silver lining. But yeah, like I said earlier, Mookie just looks bad. Conforto still doesn't look good, even though he's been one of the more productive guys in the lineup. It's not saying a whole lot. So again, the last couple of games, though, the offense hasn't been the issue. It's kind of been the bullpen.
300 GJW did a follow-up super chat asking, what would you do? Trade the farm for bullpen arms? I think he had one of the first super chats earlier saying just to stand pat and rely on health. And you and I both disagreed with that.
Yeah.
I think there's a middle ground. I think there's a, literally not doing anything. And there's not selling the farm and kind of your big prospects, especially on the position player side for, a reliever, although there are multiple relievers that are under team control beyond this season. And so I think that does maybe sort of need to change the calculus. And I get look, I've admitted, like, I'm not huge on prospects. I understand their value and the potential. And we've seen, Corey Seager was a prospect at one time. And I know his career got thrown off. Cody Bellinger was a prospect. Walker Buehler, so I understand that there is value with hanging on to some of these guys. I think also the reality is, this season, and not that I don't know if Andrew Friedman will necessarily look at it this way, but this season has the potential to be a pretty big flame out for the Dodgers. Like, not embarrassing, maybe. I mean, potentially embarrassing, depending on, I guess, how the regular season and the playoffs go, but definitely disappointing. And so if you can get a relief pitcher, not only for this year, but maybe for 2026 as well, and some guys still, under team control for 2027, do you potentially trade a, Zaire Hope type caliber prospect in your farm? So, I think it is something to at least evaluate and consider, because also your need has exponentially grown, even with the Tanner Scott stuff. Like Blake Treinen, we're referencing him coming back. There's no guarantee he's also going to be healthy and then pitch well and make it to October either. And so if you absorb another, Kirby Yates has been underwhelming. So considering the need there, I think there is at least a conversation of, maybe not give up the entire farm system, but get a little bit more aggressive than you would have thought the Dodgers were going to need to be.
Yeah, for guys like DePaula and Hope are off the table for me for relief pitching.
Okay. Even if it's multiple years, like beyond this year, like not a rental.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Not for a reliever. If you're going to move those guys, it's got to be for like a real impact bat, or which I don't even know if there's one available out there, or at least one that fits the Dodgers' needs in positionally, or like a frontline kind of starter. If you're going to put that kind of package together, I don't want just a reliever. But we're talking about it. So the Dodgers have been linked to obviously Class A in Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
There's some debate on if you want that guy or not, but I do think he's got another year after this on his deal. He's under team control. Bednar from the Pirates is a possibility there, I think. Helsley from St. Louis is another one. And then a couple of guys that we've seen in this series with Duran and Jax from Minnesota. So all guys who have been sort of rumored with the Dodgers, and I think the Dodgers would be in play for any of those guys. But teams know that the Dodgers might be desperate, and so they might pay a tax on that. Not only that, but it's a seller's market, especially for pitching, and so the Dodgers aren't going to be the only team there. There's going to be 5 or 6 teams looking at all those same names. So it's a matter of, do you think guys are going to come back? Do you think the starting pitching getting healthier is going to help the bullpen? And what are you willing to part with? Because the asking price for these guys it's going to be high.
I mean, we'll see. It's an interesting position the Dodgers find themselves in, and one that they didn't want to be, and frankly, I didn't necessarily expect them to be. With Blake Trinan coming back, with Kirby Yates added, with Tanner Scott added, would not have expected that this is how much they would have been facing this big of a need in their bullpen at the trade deadline. Jay Teaser says, would cost too much in prospects to fully fix this team through trades. Would have to trade all the top guys to get an impact bat and arm or two. I don't fully disagree with this. I think, if Freddie Freeman, if your stars get back on track and Blake Snell and Tyler Glasnow stay healthy, that solves a lot of issues. And then at that point, you need, the Dodgers have done well where they find kind of a diamond in the rough for their bullpen and somebody who emerges. I mean, I know Ben Casparius struggled tonight. He potentially may be hurt. But look at what he did last year for the team in October. So if he can sort of get to the point, get healthy, and get to that point again, that also solves an answer for you. Maybe Emmett Sheehan ends up in the bullpen and he's able to pitch well. So I don't think this team, and I get the sentiment because they have not played. I mean, you and I just have mentioned multiple times tonight that they're just not playing well for an extended stretch now.
Yeah.
So I understand the concern, but this team isn't beyond salvageable, basically.
No, yeah, and we're talking like this is a team just hanging on. Like for the moment, that it feels like, and it looks like they're just hanging on. But I'm with you. I don't think they're going to play this badly. That's not to say that they're going to go on a 10-game winning streak or something like that. But tonight was, I think, hopefully rock bottom in terms of what we've seen, in terms of a performance. So maybe it still takes them a little time to turn this thing around. But I'm with you. Like they can, the offense feels like it might be coming around. A few more guys are getting back on track. The pitching staff getting a little bit healthier. Glass now looks like he's been pretty good since he's returned. Hopefully Snell comes back and he's the guy that they paid for. If Roki comes back, maybe he is a guy who can help in the bullpen as well. Like there are options out on the horizon, and it's going to take a little bit of hope, I think. But you can see that light. With that said, I do think at this point they're going to have to make a move, and at least for a relief arm. And Dave Roberts basically said as much. Look, that is the goal. That's the objective, is to find a reliever, preferably a right-hander. I think that it is what they need. It's what they need most right now.
We're mentioning rock bottom. You mentioned rock bottom, and we've alluded to the quality of play that the Dodgers have had. Blake just sent this out from our Dodger Blue Twitter account. So Dave Roberts said, quote, "It better be rock bottom," end quote, as far as the Dodgers pitching and their defense right now.
I swear I did not see that before I said that.
And also Dave added, quote, "As far as quality of baseball, it's been a tough watch. It really has," end quote. So yeah, I mean, he's aware of it. Like I know people get upset at kind of his demeanor, and I understand that, but like it's how the Dodgers are playing is not lost on anybody, including, as I said, Anthony and I, who and the rest of our staff, who really will say, hey, like there is a big picture to sort of keep in mind and keep perspective of. Because look, all these things we're talking about, the Dodgers could trade for. They could send a single A prospect to the Guardians for Class A or for any reliever you want. Let's say somehow, you're playing MLB The Show and you have trade override on and you get your all-star closer. If they keep playing like this, it's not going to matter who's on their team. It just won't. This is not good enough. So a lot of what we're talking about is sort of to use, what Dave Roberts like to say, betting on guys in the back of their baseball cards to figure it out in time before October. Because look, if the reality is if the Dodgers level of play improves a little bit, maybe keeps them 3.5 games ahead of the Padres for the NL West, if they don't run away with the division, but still make the playoffs and then find a way to kind of recapture, just to get hot for a month in October, which we have seen, whether it's the Dodgers or other teams, we've seen teams do it. We've seen wildcard teams sneak into the playoffs and go on a playoff run and make it to the World Series. So It is about, if they, as ugly as this season can look right now, if they can figure it out in time for October, the talent, the potential is there, and health permitting, obviously, as well, is there for them to, figure things out in the playoffs. Next super chat's from Isaiah. It says, Conforto batting at the 5th or 6th spot makes no sense in any kind of perspective. I get that he's having more quality at bats, but at least plug him in the 8th or 9th spot where he's less likely to have runners in scoring position. Yeah, I mean, I think the problem with this is if you move Conforto down, as Anthony mentioned, people don't want to hear it, but he's been one of their most, and it's a low bar, but he's been one of their most productive hitters throughout July. I know that the double plays tonight and the double plays and other game, like they're frequent and those are frustrating.
Like Mookie's pop-ups.
Yes. But, if you move Conforto down, that James Outman now, like, is that your solution? Are you moving him up in the lineup? I know Hesung Kim had that, I believe it was a 2-run single tonight, but that bat before that struck out on 3 pitches. And since he's been thrown into a larger role, he's, his impact and results have regressed. So I get it. Again, like the Dodgers are sort of playing with one hand tied behind their back right now. And it's not a popular opinion. I know that it's maybe a little bit, it's not an excuse. It's an unfortunate reality for the team. David, not at the lamp, or maybe he is at the lamplight, although I guess he's on the East Coast.
He was the other day, right?
They're probably closed. Says, do you think Mookie's problems at the plate are because of the move to shortstop or age? So this is something like this question isn't going away. Yeah.
Hot topic. There's no evidence to suggest that is the reason why. And if you want to have that debate or that conversation, last year before the fractured hand, he was very arguably the best player in the National League as a shortstop. Came back from the fractured hand, he moved to right field, and that's where we started to see this current version of Mookie is when he came back from that fractured hand. Producing the playoffs, producing the World Series, but just since then has not been the same guy. So all of the time that he came back and played right field and he looked like this same hitter last year, he was in the outfield. And he was clearly a declining outfielder. So I think it's okay to have this conversation. I think I like it, but there's just no evidence to say like that's the reason why he's struggling, because last year he was this way when he was in right field, and when he was at shortstop, he was one of the better offensive players in baseball.
Yeah, I guess I agree with you. The flip side, kind of not a counter argument, but then the other way to look at that also is when Mookie was tearing the cover off the ball as a shortstop, he wasn't a very good defensive shortstop. So, and I'm
but
not like,
he had just gotten thrown into, so it wasn't like he wasn't putting in the work. The work is, I think people are saying like the demands of shortstop are why he's struggling offensively. That's the premise of this conversation for the people who think that that's the case. It was not like once he moved to shortstop last season, he just didn't do any work and he only focused on hitting. And that's different this year. No, he was doing the same amount of work at shortstop last year when he got there, maybe more, because he had never played it before at the big league level. And so he was still doing all the things that he's currently doing now when he played. It's just that he was, yes, he was worse defensively because he was still learning it. So if anything, his mind was probably more occupied with the position than it was at the plate. I really do think that it's not a complete coincidence that after the fractured hand, this is the version of Mookie Betts we've seen.
Yeah, and that was, I know you and I sort of mentioned that on our last show together, as well as, guys have talked about whether it's a hand fracture, shoulder surgery stuff, like it takes it's the second season where you feel like you're fully back. And so Mookie could be going through it. The only thing is, and maybe he's afraid that if he were to mention it as a possibility, that it would be viewed as an excuse, but like he hasn't brought that up at all. So I don't know.
He's been asked about it though. And in his defense, like he knows he's been terrible, and he has been, he's been terrible, especially when you set the bar at Mookie Betts level. He's been asked about it. He was asked about it recently. And, the question was essentially like, do you think the move to shortstop is affecting your offense? And he just said, I don't know.
Which I thought was interesting because up until he gave, that was I think Fabian Ardaya had that article, or maybe other people did, but I read that same thing, and it was Fabian Ardaya of The Athletic. That caught my attention because that was the first time that Mookie changed his stance from no, it's not.
Yeah. And I think that was some frustration coming out.
Probably.
One, with the question, because he's not the first time he's been asked about it. Two, with just his lack of production. And I think those two things are just like, he also said in the same interview or around the same time, maybe it wasn't exactly that same day, but he's also said, like, I'm doing everything I can think of to break out of a slump. Everything that's worked in the past is not working right now. So I don't know what it is. And so that might have been also sort of, a branch off of that same sort of, response to, why are you this bad right now? And I did find with you, I found it pretty interesting that he just didn't dismiss it. He just said, I don't know. But I think the I don't know was like, he didn't expand on it. It was just like, I don't know.
Yeah, I could see, and knowing, as you do, so like Mookie's kind of demeanor and body language, and given the struggles he's now had for, really a year, as you mentioned, if you look back to last season, it could have very much been like, just like, I don't really know what's going on at this point type thing out of frustration.
Yeah. And it may be a combination of all of these things. Like, yes, he is playing a new position, so that's going to occupy him a little bit more than maybe right field had been. The fractured hand, maybe that is still not fully where it needs to be. Like hand injuries for hitters are serious, and even though they might come back and be good enough to play, it does take them sometimes a while to get back. Similar to like a pitcher with a shoulder injury, and so it could be part of that. And then the illness and the muscle mass that he lost, and I know the actual weight when he steps on the scale is there, but it's hard to put on muscle during the course of a season. Like any player will tell you that. And so I say that all of it with the hope that next year we don't see this Mookie Betts. Yeah. Like because maybe there are legitimate reasons why he's been struggling so much, and it's not just he fell off a cliff and it's decline.
And that would be an extremely fast decline. As much as Father Time is very real, I would still be surprised.
It would be amazing decline in the same season that he had shown being one of the best players in baseball to completely falling off the face of the earth. Like that would be crazy if it wasn't related to anything aside from just age and decline.
All right. Ray Soto says Christian Vasquez was giving 2018 World Series flashbacks. Yeah, he did hit the 2-run double. Brody Brown says, how is Wrobleski not on this team? Well, look, if you were with us earlier, if Casparius is going on the injured list because of any sort of calf issue, Wrobleski is probably going to be back up. I'm fairly certain he's continued to pitch well since getting sent down to OKC. Look, it's the Dodgers. There's Emmett Sheehan was great in his season debut, and they optioned him the next day just because of roster management and how they like to juggle stuff. So it wasn't necessarily anything that Wrobleski did or didn't do. It was just roster management at the time and who has options and things of that nature. But
I'm guessing we'll see him again.
Yeah, he will be back. David says we've been cursed ever since Muncy got injured versus the White Sox on July 2nd. Cursed is one way to look at it because, yes, there have been more injuries. And on the position player side, like they have sort of picked up in that sense. I think the other way to look at this, and Blake sort of mentioned it on Twitter, his personal account a day or two ago, kind of looking at the Dodgers statistics with and without Max Muncy. And he basically pointed out it's kind of funny to see how much they're struggling without him when everybody wanted to run Muncy out of town the first, 4 months of the season, I think it was. So, yeah, I mean, cursed, unfortunate, whatever you want to call it. They certainly appear to need him back. Carolina Super Chat says the Dodgers need a team building meeting to improve morale and build camaraderie. The vibe seems off internally. You think maybe a players only meet, if it hasn't happened yet, do you think if they lose this series to the Twins, do you think that there's some things said by maybe some of the clubhouse leaders?
I'm guessing there probably already has been. And it's just a clubhouse tirade or a clubhouse pep talk or anything like that doesn't suddenly make Mookie Betts and Michael Conforto snap out of it like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like baseball doesn't work that way. And so it very well may have already happened. And with everything, the guys struggling, the bullpen being in the shape that it's in, it's hard to do a clubhouse pep talk and then go, now let's go win 9 of our next 10 and expect that to happen, because the reason why they're losing are reasons on the field. You know what I mean? It's not because guys aren't trying or because they don't care about winning or they don't want to win, or Mookie's podcast or Bowl. You know, I mean, all of that crazy stuff. They're a bad team right now, and they don't have all of their weapons at their disposal. With that said, I don't think Carolina is wrong in asking this question of, like, if it hasn't happened already, like, when do they need to shut the doors and say this needs to stop? I understand, like, guys are going through it and people are hurt, but we need to change at least the attitude here, because a game like this tonight, it's completely unacceptable. You lose a game 5-2, fine. A reliever comes in and gives up a bomb. Like, all right, cool. The way they lost the game tonight and the way that it feels like a lack of focus with, like, the defense and stuff like that, like the Rojas play, like that got Yamamoto in trouble, like that's routine. And so, you know, maybe it is something like that. It says, you know what? We at least need to settle down, focus better, and quit looking like the bad news bears.
Yeah, I will say I agree that, you know, having a team meeting doesn't all of a sudden mean everybody's going to go out, and hit 400 starting tomorrow. I do wonder if a team meeting can potentially clean up some of the stuff, the sloppiness. Dave Roberts referred to it as a lack of focus over the weekend. I wonder if maybe it could help there. Even then, it's not a guarantee. And Carolina is saying, she's adding that, I'm saying the guys don't seem close off the field. I think some of this might just be a byproduct of where the team is at right now.
It didn't seem like that when they were playing all those 500 teams and they were winning.
And let's go back to the beginning of the year. You know, Ohtani, Yamamoto, Sasaki organized the players only dinner for them to, I don't know if it was only sushi, but they had that big, I think it was a tuna that they were cutting up. And those pictures were all over social media. The team, the way they travel, they changed it late last year in the playoffs, and they've carried it into this year. The Dodgers now have 2 team planes. The players fly just by themselves on one plane. And so they are together. They are going to dinners and stuff and getting together when they're out on the road. I think some of this is probably just the optics of, you're losing a bunch of games. You're not going to see players posting like, hey, we're hanging out at dinner the next night or something. I mean, they had their planned family day Sunday, and Anthony, you and I did our show that night, and people were upset that, you know, the Dodgers were having family day.
I was just going to say, if they're losing like this and then they're posting like, hey, we're all hanging out and, you know, doing this fun stuff off the field after the game, they would get crucified in this chat for that.
Yeah. All right. I thought I saw one other question here that I wanted to, well, okay, let's see. We still have a bunch more super chats. So thank you everybody for being patient with us. And thank you for joining us tonight. We have over 1,500 people in here on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. I know we've been doing too many of these shows where we say we know it's been frustrating, but thank you guys for hopping in. This one especially so. We really do appreciate your continued support of DodgerBlue.com, of our Dodger Blue YouTube channel, Facebook as well, podcast. So just thank you again for that. Jay White Kim says, the pitcher injury problem seems worse than other teams, possibly due to the team's prominence in the league. Is it perception or reality? it's reality that by volume they have more injuries, more pitcher injuries than other teams. The reason at this, Anthony, you sort of mentioned, like, you can potentially start questioning development, front office. Maybe Jeff has brought up the point that they also, the Dodgers are more inclined to take a chance on maybe injury prone pitchers rather than other teams are, because they feel that they can either afford to let him rehab for 3 months or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Kind of a mixed bag here, I think.
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. It's perception, because this is the team JY Kim and us focuses on the most. And it is very true that they've had more pitching injuries than most teams. But the reality is that this is an epidemic across baseball at all levels of the game, including, when I say all levels, I mean like even like high school. So much so that 2 books have been written on it in the last handful of years or so. Major League Baseball is commissioned a study on why it's happening, which didn't tell us a damn thing.
Well, it told us that Major League Baseball's rule changes are not to blame. So MLB's study said MLB's new rules are not to blame. Look somewhere else.
Yeah. So it's both, JY. I think it seems that way because this is the team that you look at every day. But it's also a league-wide problem.
I found the comment I wanted to put up earlier. KCCG said, "We aren't the Mets. We don't publicize team meetings." This is the point that Anthony and I brought up on our last show. Is we do agree with this. Like, I think 2 things can be true. You can have team meetings, you can have player-only meetings, and they can and don't need to get out to the public right away. Like I said, we heard during the playoffs last year, after maybe they won the NLDS or clinched the NL West, or as they were reaching milestones, you would hear players say, yeah, Dave Roberts said this on this date, and that, I think, was a big moment for it. Like, stuff like that, I think, is fine. But if there's a team meeting tonight, I agree. I don't want to hear about it tomorrow, because keep that stuff internally. And the story I brought up,
point? Yeah,
right. The story I brought up was, it wasn't until I think Dave Roberts went on, ironically, Mookie Betts podcast after the World Series, and he said, yes, we had that meeting in Atlanta. What people don't necessarily know is I told players, hey, we're still good enough to win, but also I challenged Walker Buehler, saying we're going to need you. And so stuff like that after the fact is fine. But yes, CG, we agree with you. We don't need to hear about it in the present. Joseph Gutierrez says, need a trade for relievers now. Cannot wait another full week to make a move. Also, please get Conforto off this team. He can't stay here all season. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I think just the way the MLB trade deadline works, they're typically, especially if it's a bigger move, an impact move, if you will, maybe that's a better way to phrase it, they're not going to happen necessarily tomorrow, short of the Dodgers saying, okay, here's our top 1, 2, and 5 prospect. Who are you trading us?
Yeah, that would get it done. Yeah, look, the selling teams have no reason to do that move now, unless the Dodgers say something like that. They're going to try to drive up the bidding until the very end. It's why these deals happen at the deadline. It's not because teams aren't trying to get them today. It's because the teams that are selling are trying to drive up the price for as long as possible. And as you get closer, then you can tell the Dodgers, hey, I got this offer from the Brewers and it's a little bit better than yours. What are you going to do about it? So it's not necessarily up to the team that wants the guy. It's up to the team selling the guy.
Yeah. And as far as the Conforto angle, I am very curious to see, because I don't think he's going to have a significant role on the team beyond July 31st. I'm not sure if that means he's on the roster or not still. So that'll definitely be something to watch. Aaron Garcia says, at least this is happening before the deadline, it would be 100 times worse if we imploded in August and we're stuck with this team. Got to make moves. Yeah, fair. I mean, that's a good silver lining, Aaron.
That's a fair point. And it would be 100 times worse if it happened in September and you had to go into October with this. Because this version of the team is not good enough. Like, I think we all know that. We understand that. But we also understand that this most likely is not the version of the team that they go into September and October with.
Yeah. I want to put this comment up from Virtual really quick. He says, I just want to shout out the people leaving actual thoughtful comments and insights in here and not just spewing. Virtual, we appreciate this, and we appreciate our audience, because I know that there have been times where we disagree on, how to view a 5-game losing streak, 3-game, whatever the case is. But we do always have honest discussions. And as I mentioned earlier, Anthony, myself, Jeff, Blake, Scott, Daniel, we're not going to sit up here and scream and yell just for the sake of doing so. We started this show by saying, look, we have said big picture, but also the Dodgers are playing terrible right now, and this team is just not good enough. So when it warrants it, we do criticize, we do point things out. And that's what I think leads, for the most part. I know frustration has boiled over at times. And for every night, like ours, that we do these live shows, our audience really is, engaging and interactive and supportive and understanding of, okay, like you look at it this way, we look at it that way type thing. And it makes for a great discussion that we're having tonight. And I was going to point it out at the end of the show, and I'll bring it up again. This is, Anthony, I think, has so far been one of our better shows in terms of discussion and different topics and stuff like that, in spite of what happened on the field.
Yeah. And in the chat, we've been keeping an eye on it too, and it's been pretty level-headed. Like there are people saying, "Hey, it's July still. Like, we'll chill out," and people saying like, "This team's beat up." That's part. I think there are level-headed discussions happening in the chat too, aside from the people who are saying DFA everybody. So we do appreciate that because it allows us to have a good conversation too, because we're not constantly having to say, you know what, okay, everyone's saying fire Dave Roberts tonight. Yeah. We're going to have to address that when it's just a thing that's not going to happen. And so like it allows us to actually dig in a little bit to the problems and what potential solutions might be. And part of that is because the chat being the chat and talking, making sense baseball wise.
Yeah. Now I feel bad because Virtual's getting attacked and for being too optimistic. So my apologies there. Everybody be nice. Let's keep getting along. Let's see. Our next super chat's from Phil. I feel like the Dodgers angered the baseball gods with how much trash talking there was about Yankees' sloppy World Series play. Now we can't stop making stupid plays and errors. We need to make an offering. Hadn't thought of it this way, but it is certainly possible. The baseball gods, the basketball gods, they are not forces to mess with.
Who should be the offering?
I mean, I feel like everybody's going to say Conforto. But is that like if you go to the baseball gods and say, "Here's Michael Conforto," they're going to say, "What, you think we're dumb?" Like that's more of an insult. Like here's more bad juju for you.
Tanner Scott might be up there too.
Yeah, maybe. We'll have to see. Another super chat from Aaron Garcia says, "I got some teeth extracted today, and that was more enjoyable than the Dodger game."
I think that's facts.
Yeah, I mean, definitely not hard to believe. All right. David says, "Tanner Scott got stung by a bee in the elbow. He will be fine in a few days."
I hope so.
Yeah, I mean, if that's all it ends up, imagine that's. I mean, there's inflammation, right? So there is something. Although he's a pitcher, so he probably has had inflammation in his elbow for several years now.
Yeah.
But imagine if like the sting he felt was from something biting him, and he just didn't realize it at the time. That would be the craziest story.
Yeah. I found a wasp nest in my backyard today.
Did you take care of it, or did you call someone?
I handled that.
Did you get stung? I'm assuming not if you're on the show tonight.
I did not.
Okay.
Not in my elbow. I don't need an MRI.
Okay.
My bill of health is clean. I took care of it. They are no longer. There
we go. We didn't, and there wasn't even the long delay the way there was with the bees at Chase Field last season. Jedi Engineer, build a package. What do you give up for Kwan to take over left field? No, I don't think it'll happen, but a guy can dream, right? So the thing is with Kwan, like, I don't know if they would stop at just Kwan. Like, if you're doing business with the Guardians, like, are you only taking Kwan?
You probably try to solve a reliever problem as well.
So, I mean, this probably, and both of these, I know our admin helped us the other night, like Kwan and Clase are both multiple year guys. So that's going to be a huge, like, that's almost a non-starter from the standpoint of it would be a huge haul. I don't see the Dodgers doing it. But I guess, we could try to play along if it is for just Kwan. I mean, I'm terrible at this, admittedly. So maybe you can bail us out here and put something together.
Yeah. I mean, hope's off the table. DePaula's off the table. Even the pitchers who are hurt were like River Ryan off the table, like those kinds of guys too. Like Stephen Kwan is like, okay.
Yeah. I think what people like is his bat to ball skills, right? Like he gets on, like that's what I've seen a lot of is he gets on base. It's what the Dodgers need, this and that. Like, yeah, I agree with you. I mean, nothing against Stephen Kwan.
He's like league average.
Right. Like it's not going to move.
Clearly a better defender than Conforto, and Conforto is not even league average for the season. I understand that, but like trying to put together a package that is going to entice Cleveland enough to go, okay, yes, we'll give up this guy is probably not worth it for that player. If it was a different kind of player, we can have a different conversation. But for him, he's okay.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Next super chat. Richard Flores. In the past 14 games, Dodger pitching has allowed over 70 runs. Too many injuries to this once elite bullpen. We now have gutless arms in the pen. Yeah, I mean, look, as Anthony said, any team dealing with the amount of injuries the Dodgers have in a bullpen would certainly be struggling the way that you're seeing the Dodgers really struggle at this point right now. So it is sort of just a matter of getting healthy and making some additions at the trade deadline.
Yeah.
David says Dodgers will be fine. The other 4 teams in our division suck more. Everyone will be healthy and back in September. So David is confident. He's not fearing the NL West whatsoever.
And he's kind of right. Like the Dodgers have been terrible for 3 weeks at least. And like the Padres have made up like 2.5 games, something like that. Like they're not doing much. The Giants aren't doing much either.
More super chats. This one's from Peter. Cheers from Japan. Just wish they would move Kim up the lineup as he is trying his best to get the ball in play on the field. I mean, I think, that's lineup construction with Kim. Like, I don't know. We kind of alluded to it as Kim has been given this expanded role with all the injuries and basically playing every day. His effectiveness has declined. I know he had the two-run single tonight. I think there is also value to, although Ohtani's not in the leadoff spot anymore, but I think there's value to keeping, I said this in our last show, keeping somebody like Kim, and we saw it with Gavin Lux last year at the bottom of the lineup to sort of turn it over and keep a little momentum going in that way. And I think the Dodgers sort of look at that in the same light. Brenzino says, I'm not usually a prospect hugger, but if we really lose Hope or DePaula for a reliever, even if it's an elite one, he is going to lose it.
Agree. Yeah,
Anthony's with you, and I don't think the Dodgers would go down that path either.
Not for a reliever.
Yeah. All right, a couple more super chats, and then we'll answer a few questions here. We're not necessarily going to do as long of a show tonight because one of us needs to be up bright and early fighting the good LA freeway traffic to get to the 1:10 weekday middle of the week start at Dodger Stadium tomorrow.
Those are fun.
Peter says, I know I asked a few weeks back, but maybe the Dodgers can buy Yoshida to play outfield a little. Red Sox do not want him. I don't know a whole lot about Yoshida, but if he's not playing, I'm inclined to believe there's potentially some reason there. Was he mainly a bat only guy?
Yeah, I don't know enough about him either to say, and I don't know enough about his situation, to know like what it would take. I'm sure the Dodgers front office does.
Yeah. And just as a reminder, David did it. Thank you, David. So I can see this one. If you have a question he's a DH. Yeah. Well, I mean, he's a DH, then that's not going to happen. That's a non-starter.
Yeah. And I think that was like that part we knew. And we only knew that. I only knew that because of all the drama that was going on with Devers when he was still there. Yeah.
That's right. As a reminder, if you have a question for us, please start it with the word question in all caps. Gio says, hi, new viewer. Hi, Gio. Welcome. Unfortunately, this is the tail end of our show, but you can certainly rewind it. And while you're here, and if you any other new viewers we have, please hit the like button on this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're listening on podcasts, subscribe, rate, review. Come check out DodgerBlue.com as well. We put up a ton of written content to go along with all of our videos and podcasts. Tim is saying he blames DeCorte, which might not be a popular opinion, Tim. A lot of people seem to like DeCorte products and the celebration. The runner on second says, I hate booing people at Dodger Stadium. Doesn't help. I think this is obviously referencing Jose Altuve when the Astros were here, and now Carlos Correa. I mean, I think it's fine. It might feel
it makes them booing the home team.
Oh, my apologies. Yes, that's okay. That makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I look, fans respectfully, like as long as they do it respectfully. If they're just booing, like they have a right to kind of voice.
Tonight deserves some booing.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, not every night does. If there was a night to do it, then yes. If you're going to boo the home team, then tonight sort of would have been it. But what about the way I was going? I mean, some players certainly feed off the boos, right? We saw Altuve had a huge series against the Dodgers. Correa almost hit a game-tying home run last night. I know he had
He went 0 for 5 though.
Tonight. Yeah, I know he had 1 or 2 hits tonight. Do you feel strongly one way or the other booing those guys or other opponents?
Not really. I'm pretty indifferent, but like I do. It is amusing to me, like when Machado's there and he gets it. Correa, Altuve, like I'm not against it. I'm not against it. I'm with it. That's fine. And especially for those Astros guys, like they took one away from us, man.
Yeah. All right. Let's get to some final questions we have here tonight. Sydney wants to know what's up with Kike, if there are any updates yet. So Dave Roberts did tell us, I believe it was over the weekend. I don't remember if it was Friday or Saturday, so I apologize. It is on DodgerBlue.com, so if you want to read about it, you can find more there. But basically, Kike is kind of behind schedule in his recovery. No real timeline, not really doing much. I did see him playing some light catch. He was throwing. He wasn't receiving the ball. He had one trainer was catching it for him.
It was like a quarterback.
Pretty much, yeah, because it is his left elbow, right? So I guess the impact of a ball coming in, they don't want it messing with him. But not returning anytime soon with Kike, which is different from the initial comments of Dave Roberts saying he thought he'd be back shortly after the All-Star break. So add it to another Doc injury update. All right, let's see what other questions we have here. M.I. Old says, has Walker Buehler gotten his World Series ring and jersey yet? Team heading to Boston on the next road trip. So unless it's happened privately, which I don't think, Walker Buehler does not have these yet. I imagine that they probably were lining it up with the Dodgers going out to Boston this weekend. I actually was trying to look at the Red Sox schedule and their probables to see if he was going to, because he pitched Monday. And so there is a possibility that Sunday, I think he could face them Sunday. It seemed like they had, the names are escaping me, but it seemed like Boston had sort of settled on their 2 starters on Friday and Saturday. So maybe the series finale, but I don't know if I really want to see that happen. It'll be nice to see Walker get his ring and jersey, though. Hopefully they do that while they're out there. KCCG says, is Rushing going out? Will Smith is a stud, and I just don't see them waiting years with Rushing when they can get something for him and just play fiducia. It doesn't seem like he's going to be traded this deadline, and I hate to break to you, but look at what happened with Diego Cartaya. Like there were multiple years where it looked like they should have traded him. He started to regress, and they sort of sold short on the dollar. So hopefully it doesn't happen with Dalton Rushing. I agree. It is weird.
I said this to Jeff about him early in the season, like before he was up, about age and production and his role here, and that the value was dropping. I'm okay with moving him if they get something of real value. Jeff disagreed that other teams would sort of hold the Dodgers hostage with him and like say, yeah, well, you don't really like that guy anymore, or he's not producing. But teams will absolutely do that. So if they say, hey, Rushing's our centerpiece, teams are going to be like, okay, cool. What else do you have? Like, not that they might not want Rushing. It's going to be a tax though. And they're going to be able to do that because he hasn't produced. He's hit 1 home run since he's been up, and it's been off of a position player.
Yeah. And if I'm remembering correctly, I think the reports were from the Dodgers standpoint. Rushing was off limits in Jack Flaherty trade talks, and there was another starter, I think, Skubal. Also, the Dodgers weren't budging on that. So, yeah, I mean, it is still kind of a curious fit because Will Smith doesn't appear to be going anywhere. Freddie Freeman's here. Shohei Ohtani's here.
But they had already signed Smith to that deal.
Yeah, that's true.
It's interesting, yeah.
Question from David. What are the chances of getting some hitting help at the deadline? Slim to none, or do we pull the trigger? I think they get a bat. I just don't know how impactful it'll be.
Yeah, I'm with you. There's just not a lot out there offensively to say like, okay, that guy's a lineup changer. That you slot that guy in 2, 3, 4, something like that. I don't know if that guy is out there, and if he is, he may not fit positionally with what the Dodgers need. Like I don't think that guy's a left fielder right now, or a center fielder or something like that.
People are saying might as well just put Rushing in the outfield. That it can't get any worse. Brandon wants to know if Rushing does get traded, who will be the backup catcher? Yes, it would be Hunter Fiducia at that point. He's already on the 40-man roster. He's been up. So yeah, I think the Dodgers would feel comfortable with him filling that role. Alleluia one says, are you surprised that Kim doesn't steal more? Does he even have a green light, or is it managed? With the amount of times he has gotten on base, he should have 30-ish stolen bases. First answer to this is he hasn't necessarily been getting on base all that much recent. Like he's struggled quietly a little bit in his kind of expanded opportunity that's come about because of the injuries.
Yeah.
In terms of the green light, it's Kim. I don't think, just considering he's a rookie, like I don't think he can just run whenever he wants. Very few people I think can. So it is sort of managed, but I think he did have a stolen base tonight. So I think the Dodgers are aware of it. It's just, being strategic with letting him run.
The biggest thing is he hits at the bottom of the order. So if he is on base, he's got Ohtani coming up shortly after he gets on, and they're not running him into an out with Ohtani coming up.
Right. Yeah. All right. Couple more questions here. Super chat from Jedi Engineer. He says, solution, Ahmed Rosario. Third time is the charm, right? I mean, look, would you be completely shocked if the Dodgers traded for Rosario again? I wouldn't.
I guess not.
No,
probably not.
Frank is asking, what about Eugenio Suarez? I mean, we've discussed him. Max Muncy's coming back.
He's going to cost you. And where does he play? And where do you? And if you say third, then where do you put Muncy if he comes back next week or the week after that?
Yeah. All right. Last question here is from Dong. It says, if Tanner Scott is not available, likelihood Ohtani closes at least one playoff game, like in the WBC. Not rooting for it, but if one had to make a wager, I don't see it.
I think it's probably low, but Dong, I don't think you're crazy for thinking this, because I've thought it a couple times on our shows of like, could that be a thing? Would they be tempted there? Like, would the organization be tempted to do it? I would be tempted to do it if I were in that dugout. I don't think they will, though. Considering how they've slow played him to this point, I don't think they would put him out there, in that sort of role. I think they're going to be very deliberate in like his preparation on the day that he pitches and his routine and all that. And if you're a closer, you don't get to do that.
The only scenarios I can see it happening is if it's a game 7 of the NLCS and you need him to close it out to go to the World Series, and he's already pitched, 5 days before that. You're not necessarily sure. Like, I could see that, similar to what they ended up basically did with Scherzer to beat the Giants in the NLDS in 2021. That's one way. The other is if it's a game 6 or game 7 of the World Series, and it's obviously game 7. And if it's game 6 and you can close it out and you kind of have exhausted a lot of your high leverage guys already, and the win is there, and it's the last game of the season. If it works out, he says, okay, I'll do it.
Like they did with Walker.
Right. Short of those like 2 scenarios, but 3, I guess, if you count game 6 of the World Series and game 7 as 2, I don't necessarily see them messing with it, just because, like, look at how cautious, as you said, they've been with his pitching build up, and they've referenced that, he is signed up for 10 seasons. And I know 1 is down. We're in the 2nd now. So there's still a lot of years ahead for Shohei Ohtani, but not the worst idea. All right. That's going to do it tonight. Again, a big thank you to everybody. Anthony, I know I'll speak for myself, and maybe you can probably echo. I thoroughly enjoyed this show, and I was a little worried coming into it. I joked last time that every time I fill in for Jeff, especially lately, it's been after a loss. But we had great discussion with everybody tonight, and so it was a lot of fun. Anthony, I know you said earlier the chat was honest, and we were able, it wasn't just a bunch of nonsense.
Yeah. It's a good conversation, I thought, and it allowed us to have a good conversation too. Super chats were really good, like thoughtful questions about like how to fix this issue. It wasn't just like railing about the issue. It was like, okay, how do we fix it? Yeah. So that was good.
Joseph is saying that I'm bad luck. I don't know. Maybe at this point, but I mean, frankly, they've been losing when it doesn't matter what our combination is. Jeff and Bruce have done losses. Jeff and Anthony. Blake and Anthony, I think before the All-Star break, you guys had a loss. So maybe it's not us. It's not us. It's you type thing. It's the Dodgers. But again, thank you to everybody. And as a reminder, if you are new, to the Dodger Blue YouTube channel, please be sure to hit the like button on this video. Subscribe to our channel. We've mentioned it. We're marching towards 100,000 subscribers. We want to ideally get to 90,000 before the end of July. We're close. So if you can, share news, tell your cousin, tell family, friends about our YouTube channel, Dodger Blue 1958.
And then this show.
Yeah. Send them this one. Yeah, this was one of our better ones. So maybe send them this one specifically. And if you're on podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Google, you can find us there as well. Subscribe, rate, and review. But again, thank you. And of course, check out DodgerBlue.com. We have a ton of written content to supplement and accompany all of our video and podcast coverage. So that's it for tonight. That's Anthony. I'm Matthew. We will be back on Thursday. Jeff should be back. I'm fairly certain. It should be Jeff and Bruce. Worst case scenario, you guys will be stuck with me again in the hosting chair, but maybe we'll be able to get you a different voice. So thank you again, everybody, and we'll see you next time.